Hello everyone! This is Running on Empty Food Review. Well, hello ladies, gentlemen, and everyone watching. Welcome one and all to this newest edition of the Running on Empty Food Review series. I'm your host, The Report of the Week. Pleasure to be here. For those of you who are regular viewers, you could obviously tell that once again, I have gone pretty much immediately from one review to the next. And I'll tell you why, and I think you could already tell, just by even looking at me. It's impossible. I can't even contain my excitement right now. And as soon as I saw that Little Caesars released this item, I dropped everything. And I mean that in both the literal sense, I actually dropped stuff and avoided injury, thankfully, but in the metaphorical sense too. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I thought, no way. No way. I loved this item so much. The first 2 times that I reviewed this, I thought, there's no way that this is coming back. There is no possible way that they're ever bringing this one back, because it's just too good. And they did. They did all right. The world stopped. The world stops. Life stops. Nothing happens until I'm able to try this out again. This is a masterpiece, quite frankly. When I think of fast food, a lot of the time, and you obviously know me, if you're, again, a regular viewer, the messier the better. That's what I'm all about. The thing that I love about the Calzone, especially, this was one of those things I knew immediately upon seeing it. I'll take one of the slices, and it's perfect for this, really. I'd hold it over my head, and I'd actually wring it out like a sponge, and all the grease and the oil would just fall on my face, and I would massage it into my scalp and get the health benefits of all of that. So it's really it's fun for the whole family. It's a masterpiece. And Little Caesars, they did it again. They really did. They're doing it once more. And this time, though, this is the 4-quarter calzone from Little Caesars. And here's what it is. It's a pizza that has 4 meats on it, which I think is pretty standard so far. It, kind of sounds like a meat lovers sort of pizza. Pepperoni, bacon, ham, and Italian sausage. But it then has, and this is where it gets, of course, its name from, a calzone-like crust. And the crust is stuffed with mozzarella cheese, and then each of these 4 crusts, and you'll see in a moment when I hold it up exactly what I'm talking about, will have a different one of these meats therein. So it's got the calzone-like crust filled up with mozzarella cheese, and the 4 meats that are on the pizza portion of it itself. And it's available at the price of $9 for this. So they're actually releasing this one, I think, for, and I'm sorry if I get this wrong, I'm not the biggest sports person in the world, but I think it has something to do with professional football, maybe the NFL. Again, I'm not entirely sure. I'm not going to say it like I definitively know. But I think that it was some sort of sports-related promotion. I would be willing to say that definitively. And I think it's football-related. So, they're doing that. They say, okay, this is something that you can get for the big game, and if you have some friends or family over and, you're watching the game, you can get one of these, and they say it'll be very filling, lots of meat, lots of flavor, and lots to go around. Now, the whole introduction was extreme sarcasm. I am not a fan of this item, and I'm going to get my bias out of the way before I even try it. In the 2 reviews of this that I have already done, I did not like it either time. I, in some instances, was actually a bit disgusted by it. That's just the honest truth. And I've always found it a bit overwhelming, a bit gross in a way. Sometimes the visual of it actually is a little unnerving. It's one of these items that it just wouldn't surprise me if I see the thing pulsating and it starts crawling out of the box or something like that. But nonetheless, despite my personal feelings toward it, I always try to, when I do these reviews, look at it from a much more broad perspective. And I try to think to myself, well, just because I might not like the way it looks, just because it might be a little too messy, is that how everyone else would feel? And I know that that's not the case. There's certain folks out there that would love this sort of thing. So as a result, I try to just be in that frame of mind, look at it objectively, and try to just give a... Sorry about that. There was someone at the door, and at first I panicked, actually. I thought that the Little Caesars defense team was actually already here, but as a matter of fact, it was just a little package delivery that I was expecting, so that was no big deal. Life goes on. Anyway, all I was trying to say is that when I try these out, I try to just look at it from a much broader perspective and just take that into account. So even if I have my personal feelings about the item, look, if it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. And that's all that there is to it. So anyway, available at the price of $9. And Little Caesars, they always are known for having some good deals monetarily. And this is no exception. As you will see in a moment, a lot of food, still at a decent price. Now, for dipping, it also comes with a side of their crazy sauce, which is their very robust marinara blend. Alright, taking a look at the box itself. It says, official pizza of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Raise the flags. So, the beast is back, and he's holding this little, it's like, I think, it's like a handbag of sorts, and you can see the zipper on it, so that's cool. Grease on the bottom, and here we go. So as you see, it's all in the crust, right there. Mozzarella cheese in the crust. It's got the meats on the pizza part of it, seasoned, and then there's mozzarella cheese in the crust, and there you have it. So it has those 4 distinct pieces. It looks like each corner does indeed have a different meat. You could clearly see the pepperoni, I could see the sausage, I can see the ham, and also the bacon. Now the bacon is just little bacon bits. That's the thing to understand there. Alright. Now what I will do is I will take a piece. Let's see how well this is cut. It's actually cut well enough. And there you have it. All right. So what I will do now is try it out. First I'll try the pizza part of it, and then I'll try the crust part, and we'll see how good it is overall. So the Little Caesars 4-quarter calzone going in. There's a little bit of, I think it was the ham that was a tad chewier than the rest, which was what I paused for there. Alright, so the first part of the assessment, taking a look at the pizza part of this item itself. And the pizza part, I will say, is totally fine. It's, Now, here's the one thing that you have to understand when you're going into this, of course. And I think most items from Little Caesars are this way, so if you are a frequent Little Caesars consumer, you know this, obviously. It's a very, very greasy item, and this, of course, is no exception, even more so than usual. When you think about all the meats that are on this, you really notice, of course, all that greasiness and the oiliness that is here. So you will notice it on your hands immediately. It's going to be, around your mouth. You're going to taste it. And it's also very salty, in my opinion. That's another thing that I notice here. It's extremely salty. Maybe a little too salty. That's actually the thing that I happen to notice the most right here. And the reason being, when you think about it, okay, so you have the pepperoni, which is salty. You have the bacon, which is salty. You have the sausage, which could have some salty notes. Then it's sprinkled with a buttery garlic blend, which is also going to be a bit on the fairly salty side. All together, you really notice that to the point where it just becomes a little overwhelming. It's one of those items where the first few bites, even like the first bite or two, are okay, and it's like, wow, this is really, really strong, but it's doable. But I could easily see this because I've been here before. One of those items where if you're just there and you're eating slice after slice after slice in a very quick succession, then you will probably notice it just becoming a bit overwhelming, perhaps too much of a good thing. The one thing, now speaking of good things though, in a good way, one thing that I notice here is that the amount of meat is definitely something that I am happy with. You could obviously see there's a lot of toppings here, and you get it in every single bite. You could get a little bit of everything there. You get the pepperoni, the sausage, the ham, the bacon. You're really going to get it all. And each of those, again, despite the greasiness and the saltiness, still has its own distinct flavor. And it works. It's like a meat lover's pizza, if you've had one of those. Of course, you know what you're going to expect, and that precisely is what this is. So the pizza portion of itself, or the pizza portion of the item in and of itself, I'm trying to say, is totally fine for what it is, albeit maybe a bit too salty, a bit too greasy, but does it taste okay? Yeah, it sure does, I would say. So now taking a look at the crust. Let's try it out. Really what I want to do here is just see essentially how the combination blends. So I'm just going to try the one piece here because it's just going to be the same thing for the rest of them pretty much. It'll just be all mozzarella and garlic with insert topping. So in this case, it's the pepperoni. Try that out now. I'll say it very openly. At this point, I think you could clearly see, I might not be the most enthusiastic supporter of this item. I might not be one of those people that's just a total fanatic for it, but you know what? Of the three that I've reviewed, this is easily the best one. It easily is, and I will say that completely. I might not like these items in general. They might just be a bit too much for me, a bit overwhelming in some ways, but compared to the other two, this is easily the best one, and I mean that completely. I'll take one more bite right here. When you reach the crust, immediately you will notice that strong mozzarella cheese. And it's there in every bite. It kind of clumps together a little bit, but you will definitely notice it. But it works. It totally works. It's not overwhelming like how it was in some instances. And likewise, in the crust itself, there is that very heavy concentration of the garlic seasoning, the garlic buttery spread, you could say, which is again very strong. What you will, of course, notice is in the area that's folded over, as far as that calzone sort of appearance is concerned, the toppings that are there are going to be a little softer, not undercooked or anything, but you're just going to notice them being a bit softer and a bit more moist than those elsewhere on the pizza are. All in all, though, I would say that it still tastes totally fine. And compared, once again, to some of the other calzones I've tried from Little Caesars, this is the best one. Now, in my opinion, personally, do I still find it a bit overwhelming? Do I still find it a bit overbearing? I would say that I do. It's still a bit too salty for my liking. It's still a bit too oily and greasy, again, for my liking. However, there are two things that I need to note as caveats per se. Number one, some people like it that way. If you really like the sorts of items that, again, are like as greasy as they get, and are really oily, and are really, really salty, and have tons and tons of meats, and the heavy garlic, and all of that on it, you will genuinely like this. And I think this will be right up your alley. So as a result, if you like that sort of stuff, then you're really going to enjoy this one. But secondly, maybe that's why they have the crazy sauce. So, the crust is also very, in my opinion, again, a bit over the top as far as the garlic and all that is concerned. I'm going to dip it in the crazy sauce and see how that robust marinara sauce cuts through. Now, there already is the marinara tomato sauce on the pizza itself that was not enough to cut through the saltiness, but let's see right here. It works. I think when you're having the sauce in the higher concentration, like you see in, of course, the dipping, it comes with it. That's another thing. And you see they give you a good amount of it too, which is something that I always am a fan of. And thankfully, I think in that concentrated amount, that's enough that it is able to overpower sort of the greasiness and all of the saltiness and the oiliness. And it's able to cut through that and kind of moderate things out a little bit, tone it down a tiny bit. And, for folks like me that are kind of looking for that, then that sauce is exactly what you would be hoping for. I think Little Caesars, I think they genuinely understand that, which is why they've included it. Definitely a good comparison. And I think most folks would really appreciate it being there. So I would say if you get this, take advantage of that marinara sauce. It's there for you to use, and I personally would say use it generously with this item. So all things considered, yeah, is this item necessarily my cup of tea? No, it's not. But sorry about that, I needed that sip of water. But is it still all right for what it is? I would say so. And I think that Little Caesars understood maybe some of the problems that they had with this, and I think they tried to improve on it the best they could. As a result, being that it's affordable, has a lot of toppings, could be overwhelming, definitely, but that sauce really does help and it makes a difference, and it still tastes good for what it is, yeah, I'd say they saw the issues, and they really improved upon it. Therefore, out of 10, I'm going to be giving the 4-quarter calzone from Little Caesars. I see no reason not to give it a 7 out of 10. Not everyone will be a fan of it. Might be a bit much. It's like I'm just getting this for the review and that's it. But I think if you've enjoyed these before, you're going to enjoy this one. And if it sounds interesting, get it while the getting's good. That's all that I have for you. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'm your host, The Report of the Week.